Hello students. So today we'll discuss the synopsis regarding the human health and disease. Okay. So you already know what is health and what is the disease. So let's see the definition of health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. Okay. So what's the definition of health? So for whom will say healthy person? If the person who is physically, mentally and socially is well-being. Fine. Again, how the health is affected? So generally here the health, it may be affected by genetic disorders, infections, change in the lifestyle. Again, the lifestyle, either it may be due to the food, water, rest, exercise, habits, etc. Fine. So all these things are needed for a healthy, balanced life. Fine. So what is health? Health is nothing but it's a state of complete physical, mental and socially well-being. In all the aspects, the person should be well-being. Fine. So some of the disease which may also it may affected, either it may be due to the genetic disorders, or it may be due to some infections, or it may be due to the changes in the lifestyle. Okay. Next, mind influence immune system. So again here through the neural and the endocrine system and thereby the health. So that means the immune system is also important. And when the functioning of the organs or the system of the body is adversely affected, okay, when the functioning of organs or any system in our body, if it get affected, so that we commonly call it as a disease. Fine. So completely the ultimate aim of every person is to lead a happy life. So when the happy life we can lead only when we have a healthy body and healthy mind. Fine. So complete the person, if he need to be happy, he should have healthy body, healthy mind. Then only we can live a happy life. Yes or no? Fine. So what is disease and what are the types of diseases? So again here we have got two types of disease. One is infectious disease and the one is the non-infectious disease. Infectious means it can transmit from one person to another person. Infectious means it will spread from one person to another person. Non-infectious means they do not transmit from one person to another person. Fine. So disease causing organisms. So generally we call it as a pathogens. So what do you mean by pathogens? Pathogens are nothing but they are disease causing organisms. Then next comes the parasites. Parasites are the pathogens as they harm the host. So you know the difference between the pathogen and the parasite. Pathogens are nothing but they are the disease causing organisms. Parasites are the pathogens which will harm the host. Fine. So hope you understood types of diseases and the definition of pathogen and the parasite. So how many types of diseases? Two types. One is infectious and another one is the non-infectious disease. Okay. Next, good humor hypothesis. So again here generally it was proposed by Hippocrates and Indian Ayurvedic system. So here it states that the health is a state of body and mind where there is a balance of certain humorous. The person with black bile belongs to a hot personality and would have fevers. So William Harvey, he disproved this hypothesis and he discovered blood circulation and he demonstrated that the normal body temperature in a person with black bile using the thermometer. Okay, here some experiments were conducted for the good, it's commonly known as good humor hypothesis. Now next comes the common infectious disease in man. So let's see one by one which are the common infectious diseases in man. So first one is a bacterial disease. Bacterial disease, in that first one is a typhoid. So again here this typhoid it is generally caused by the pathogen which is known as Salmonella typhi. Then mode of transmission, how it is transmitted, it enters small intestine through contaminated food and water and migrates to the other organs with blood, through blood. Fine, through blood it gets spread to the other parts of the body. That is the mode of transmission of typhoid. Then what are the symptoms for typhoid? Sustained high fever, headache, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, and the loss of appetite, then intestinal perforation, and death if occurs. In some cases, you can say death, not severe. Fine. So these are the some of the symptoms of the typhoid. Okay. So in bacterial disease, so far we are discussing now common infectious disease. In that, first bacterial disease. In bacterial, first one is a typhoid, which is generally caused by Salmonella typhi. So you have to keep in mind the pathogen name, mode of transmission, and the symptoms. Okay. Next, so viral test, it is used for the confirmation of the disease. So generally for the treatment, we can say the typhoid, generally the viral test is done for the confirmation of the disease. Second one is the pneumonia. So again here pneumonia, it infects the lungs of the alveoli. So you already know that the alveoli, they are the structural and the functional unit of the lungs, right? So again, if the person who's get infected by this pneumonia, generally the alveoli will be damaged. So it is generally filled with fluid. The alveoli gets filled with fluid, including the respiratory problems. Pneumonia, they feel breathing problems or respiratory disorder. Generally, it will affect the respiratory tract, we can say. What is pathogen name? So again here the pathogen, it is a Streptococcus pneumonia. Mode of transmission, by inhaling the droplets, aerosols, which is released by the infected person, and the sharing of glasses and utensils with an infected person. Fine. So pathogen and mode of transmission of pneumonia. Symptoms. So what are the symptoms of pneumonia? Respiratory problems, fever. Okay. So what are the symptoms for pneumonia? So generally they are respiratory problems, fever, chill, cough, headache. In severe cases, the lips and fingers, nails, they turn the grey or bluish in color. If the oxygen level is less, then you can see that the nails and skin color will become grey or bluish in color. Fine. So these are the symptoms of pneumonia. Okay. So next we'll move on to the third one. It is a common cold. So again here this common cold, so generally it infects nose and the respiratory passage. Fine. Upper respiratory and lower respiratory tract, nose and the respiratory passage, but not the lungs. It lasts for about 3 to 7 days. A complete life cycle of this virus, it takes place around 3 to 7 days. Next, pathogen. So common cold, it is a viral disease. So generally it is caused by the pathogen, which is known as rhinovirus. The mode of transmission, how it is transmitted? It is generally transmitted by inhaling the droplets releasing from cough or sneeze through the contaminated objects. So either it may be pens, books, cups, door knobs, computer accessories, etc. From the infected person to the normal person. If they inhale all these things, generally it may affect this common cold. Then symptoms, here you can see that the nasal conjugation and the discharge, fever, headache, and sore throat, cough, hoarseness and tiredness, etc. Okay, so these are the symptoms for common cold. Next comes the protozoan disease. In protozoan disease, the first one is the malaria. So again the pathogen is Plasmodium. Plasmodium is a species, and here you will find 4 different forms. One is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. So generally here Plasmodium falciparum, it causes the most dangerous malaria. So what is the mode of transmission? So mode of transmission, it is caused by biting of female Anopheles mosquito. It's caused by biting of female Anopheles mosquito. Then symptoms. So symptoms here, hemozoin. So it is a toxin which is released by the Plasmodium. Again, it causes chill and high fever, recurring every 3 to 4 days. Okay. So pathogen you have to keep in mind. Then mode of transmission. Generally, it is caused by biting of female Anopheles mosquito. Then symptoms. Next comes the life cycle of Plasmodium. That is the malaria. So generally here, this life cycle it completes in two hosts. It is a digenic. So half of its life cycle it completes in the mosquito body, and half of the life cycle it will complete in the human body. Okay. So it is a digenic. So here you can see the life cycle of Plasmodium. So this is the complete human host, and this is the mosquito host. So what happens here? Just we can have a glance once. So when mosquito bites to a human, after biting, what happens here? The sporozoites are injected. Fine. Then that is the parasites which reaches to the liver through the blood. So in our body, when the mosquito will bite, they will release the sporozoites. That is a parasite. Sporozoites are nothing but parasites. These parasites it will reach the liver through the blood in our body. Fine. Then in liver, what happens? The asexual reproduction in the liver cells will takes place, and the bursting of these cells releases into the blood. Fine. Then asexual reproduction in RBC, and the bursting of RBC releases the hemozyne. So during this time, when hemozyne is nothing but it is a toxin. So when hemozyne is released, during that time, what happens here? The person will suffer from severe fever and chill. Okay. During that releasing of the hemozyne, the person will suffer from fever and the severe fever and the chill. Okay, so this is complete half life cycle. It takes place in man. Then remaining when the gametocytes are released, that is through the sexual stage in the RBC. Then the female mosquito, when it will bite, this gametocytes it will enter in its body. Then further the fertilization and development it will takes place in the mosquito gut. Fine. Then the mature infected stages it will escape from the intestine, and it migrates to the mosquito of the salivary glands. Fine. So here in the salivary glands you can see that it will store. When this mosquito it will bite to the another person, again this parasites it will enter into the human body, then it will reach to the liver cell, then multiply, and further it will continue again. The life cycle will continue. Fine. So this complete life cycle of malaria, that is the Plasmodium, where it is a digenic and it requires two hosts to complete the life cycle. Okay. Next, second one is the amoebiasis or the amoebic dysentery. So amoebiasis it is commonly the pathogen is the Entamoeba histolytica. Mode of transmission is house flies. Generally it transmits the parasites from fecus to food and water. It will contaminate it. What are the symptoms for this? So generally it will cause constipation, abdominal pain and cramps, and stools with excess mucus and blood clots. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms of amoebiasis. Next comes the helminthes disease. Again in helminthes disease, first one is Ascaris. It's commonly known as intestinal parasite. Mode of transmission. So generally it is transmitted by soil, water, vegetables, fruits, etc. And it is contaminated with fecus, which is containing eggs of parasites. Then symptoms are internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and the blockage of intestinal passage. So these are the common symptoms of ascariasis. Next comes the filariasis, or it's commonly known as elephantiasis. So this at least people are very much familiar, and you already seen the person who is suffering from this filariasis, or we commonly call it as elephantiasis commonly. So here the pathogen it is generally caused by filarial worms or Wucheria bancroft or Wucheria malaya we'll say. So generally it is caused by the female Culex mosquito. Mode of transmission, it is caused by the bite of female Culex mosquito. Then filarial worms they live in the lymphatic vessels. It generally causes the chronic inflammation of organs in which they live for many years. So generally the affected organ in this is the limbs and the genital tracts are maybe to be deformed. Most affected part we can see, one is the limbs and another one is the genital organs. Okay, so that's about this filariasis or the elephantiasis, which is caused by filarial worm. Next comes the ringworm. It's a fungal disease. So fungal disease, ringworm, pathogen, it is Mycosporum, Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. They are seen in between the toes. So in between the toes you can see this. Okay, so pathogen, mode of transmission, how it is transferred generally from soil or by using the towels or the clothes, combs, etc. Heat and the moisture will also help the fungi to grow. It's the most one of the contagious disease we can say, infectious disease. Then what are the symptoms? Symptoms you can see generally dry scaly lesions on skin, nails and the scalp, etc. And also the intestine itching, you can see intense itching, you can see if the person who is suffering from this fungal disease, like some intense itching of the skin will take place. So these are the particular affected areas. Okay, next, prevention and control. So what are the personal hygiene, how to control and prevent these diseases? Some personal hygienes we have to maintain. We have to keep the body clean, right? Regularly we have to take bath. Then we have to use clean drinking water and food. Fine. Then public hygiene we have to maintain. First point is that proper disposal of waste and excreta should be maintained. Then periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools and cesspools and tanks should be done. And we have to avoid the contact with the infected person or their belongings. Okay, and then we have to use the standard practice of hygiene in the public catering and all. The packing should be done very properly. Then we have to control and eliminate the vectors. So especially the mosquitoes, they are the most harmful vectors we can say. How to avoid to control these vectors? First one, it is control and the elimination of vectors. So just we have to avoid the stagnation of water, that is standing water, because it is one of the major cause or major effect to the environment. Means generally it's a place where the larvae of the mosquitoes will grow quickly in the stagnant water. Then second one is the regular cleaning of household coolers and all. Then third one, use of mosquito nets, this we have to follow. And another one is the introducing of the larvae like fishes of Campus in the ponds, just to minimize it will generally feed on the larva of the mosquito. Then the spraying the insecticides in the ditches, drainages and swamps. Then they provide the doors and the windows with wire mesh. Okay, so these precautions can avoid the vector-borne disease like malaria, filariasis, dengue, fever and chikungunya. So these are the diseases we can avoid by these precautions if you follow these precautions. And one is the vaccination and immunization, which generally help to control the diseases like simple pox, smallpox, smallpox, polio and diphtheria, pneumonia and tetanus. Okay, then drugs like antibiotics are also help to treat the infectious disease. Fine, up to here it's clear. Okay, so next we'll move on to the human immune system. So again here in the human immune system, so it is a system that gives the immunity to the body by recognition, responding and resembling the foreign antigens. remembering, not resembling, remembering foreign antigens. Okay, so just let me read it once again. It is a system that gives immunity to the body by recognizing, responding, and remembering the foreign antigens. It plays a role in allergic reactions, autoimmune disease, and also the organ transplantation. Fine. So it includes lymphoid organs, tissues, cells, and the antibiotics. So all this, it comes under the immune system. So again here in the lymphoid organs, also there are, what are lymphoid organs? These are the organs where their origin, maturation, and the proliferation of lymphocytes will occur. Okay, in lymphoid organs, so origin, maturation, and the proliferation of lymphocytes will occur. So again we have got two types of lymphoid organs. One is primary lymphoid organ and the secondary lymphoid organs. So primary lymphoid and secondary lymphoid, we'll see detail. Primary lymphoid organs, the organs where the lymphocytes are matured and differentiated to antigen sensitive lymphocytes. Fine. In primary lymphoid organs, what happens here, the organs where lymphocytes are, they are matured and differentiated to antigen sensitive lymphocytes. So again there are two types. One is bone marrow and another one is the thymus gland. Okay, this is bone marrow, it's a thymus. So in bone marrow you can see it's a site of formation of blood cells including B and T lymphocytes. Okay, so in bone marrow, what's a bone marrow? It is a site for the formation of all blood cells including B and T lymphocytes. Then thymus, a bilobed organ which is seen near the heart and beneath the breastbone. Okay, near the heart. Here you can see the thymus gland, the location of thymus gland, which is seen near the heart and beneath the breastbone. Okay. Okay. So bone marrow, and next comes the thymus gland. So again it is seen near the heart and beneath the breastbone. So it is a large during birth, and but gradually it will reduce the size and becomes very small size in the puberty. Fine. Then immature T lymphocytes from the bone marrow, it is migrated to thymus and become mature. Okay. Next, secondary lymphoid organs. So the organs to which the mature lymphocytes, they migrate from primary lymphoid organs, they interact with antigens and then they proliferate to become the effector cells. Fine. So again your examples are spleen, and the one is the lymph nodes. This is spleen, and here you can see the lymph nodes. Example: spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, and Pierce patches. And then last comes the appendix. So all this comes under examples for secondary lymphoid organs. Next comes the spleen. So again here the spleen, it is a bean shaped organ, contains lymphocytes and phagocytes, removes worn out RBCs and the microorganisms from the blood. So generally it is useful for removing the RBC. So generally spleen is known as graveyard of the RBC. Okay, it's commonly known as graveyard of the RBC, reservoirs of erythrocytes in the fetus. Next, second one is lymph nodes. So again this lymph nodes, it is found in lymphatic system. They trap the microorganisms and other antigens. The trapped antigen activate lymphocytes and it causes the immune response. Next, MALT. So MALT, it is nothing but the mucous associated lymphoid tissue. It's located within the lining of respiratory, digestive and urinogenital tract. It mainly consists of 50% of lymphoid tissue. Okay, so next comes the another most important concept in this chapter. It is the immunity. So what is immunity? What are the types of immunity? We'll see now. So again here, immunity it's nothing but it's a ability of the immune system to fight against the disease causing organisms. Okay, so what is immunity? Immunity is nothing but the ability of the immune system to fight against the disease causing organisms. So again here, there are two types of immunity. One is innate immunity, or it is also known as inborn immunity. Then second one is the acquired immunity, or it is also known as adaptive immunity. So first one is the innate immunity. So innate immunity, it is a non-specific immunity, non-specific defense which is present at the time of birth. By birth only it is seen in our body. Then it provides a barrier to the entry of foreign agents into our body. So again here there are four types of barriers are there. One is physical barrier, physiological barrier, cellular barrier, and the one is the cytokinin barrier. Fine. So this innate immunity, it is generally it's also known as inborn immunity, where it is present in our body by birth, and it is generally provides a barrier to the body from the entry of foreign substances. So again here there are four types of barriers: physical barrier, physiological barrier, cellular barrier, and the one is the cytokinin barrier. Okay, so first comes the physical barrier. Physical barrier again in our body, skin. First is the skin. So generally it will prevent the entry of foreign bodies in our body. Then second one is mucous coating of lining of, generally it is seen in the lining of respiratory tract and gastrointestinal, then urinogenital tract. So generally it is helpful for trapping of microbes. Skin and mucous coating, and the one second one is physiological barrier. So again in physiological barrier, it prevents the microbial growth. So again this physiological barrier, it includes gastric HCl, saliva and tears. HCl, saliva and tears. The next comes the cellular barriers. One is phagocytes like WBC. Then generally it includes natural killers or the lymphocytes, macrophages, etc. So generally which engulfs the microorganisms or the foreign substance which enter the body. Then next comes the cytokinin barrier. Virus infected cells secretes cytokinin protein which is known as interferon. It protects non-infected cells for further viral infection. Okay. So generally this interferon is nothing but it is a protein. It will prevent the non-infected cells from the further infection, so that further infection should not occur. Okay, so all this comes under the innate immunity. So next comes the acquired immunity. So acquired immunity, it is a pathogen specific immunity which is developed during the lifetime. Okay, so again here it is characterized by memory. During the first encounter of the pathogen, and the body produces the primary response in low intensity, and secondary encounter of the same pathogen which is causes the secondary response in high intensity. Fine. So again here in acquired immunity, that is primary and secondary immune system, they are carried out with B lymphocytes or B cells, and the T lymphocytes or T cells. Fine. So B lymphocytes generally they produce antibodies, and they are the proteins of fight with pathogens. So generally they fight with pathogens. Then next comes the T lymphocytes, help B cell to produce the antibodies. Next comes the structure of antibody. So an antibody, it is having 4 polypeptide chains, 2 are light chains and 2 heavy chains. So types of antibodies, these are the different types of antibodies you can see. Next comes the types of acquired immune response. Acquired immune response, humoral or antibody mediated response, antibody mediated immunity, AMI, cell mediated response or cell mediated immunity, CMI. Fine. So first comes the types of acquired immunity. So acquired immune response, or humoral or antibody mediated response. So here what happens, it is a immune response which is mediated by antibodies. So antibodies are formed in blood plasma, so called as humoral immune response. So generally they are produced in the blood plasma. Second one, it is a immune response mediated by cell T lymphocytes. Then the body can be differentiated into self and non-self, and CMI causes the graft rejections. Okay. Next, acquired immunity, in that tissue matching, tissue matching and blood group matching are essential before undertaking graft or the transplant. So any transplantation they will do not, everything should be matched essentially. Fine. So after this, the patient has to be taken to the immune supersense all his life, complete, either it may be tissue matching or blood grouping matching. Complete the body system should be matched with that of the donors. Next comes the acquired immunity. So again, in acquired immunity there are two types. One is active acquired immunity and passive. So again, in active they are natural and artificial, passive also natural and artificial. So we'll see one by one. Acquired immunity, in that first one, it is an immunity in which the antibodies are produced in the host body when the host is exposed to the antigens. Okay, when the host is exposed to the antigens, the antibodies are produced. So it is a very slow process and it is produced by two waves. One is natural antibody immunity. It is developed during the natural infections of microbes. Then artificial active immunity, developed by the injecting microbes deliberating during the immunization. Okay. Then here ready-made, generally they are the ready-made antibodies. They are directly given to the body. Again, there are two types. One is natural passive immunity and artificial passive immunity. So these are some of the examples. Next comes the immunization. This is based on memory of the immune system. So again, there are two types. One is active immunization and the one is the passive immunization. So immunization, in this, the preparations of vaccine. Okay, so immunization, in this preparation of vaccines as antigenic protein of pathogen or inactivated pathogen, it is introduced into the body and it results in the development of antibodies. During actual infections, the antibodies neutralize the antigen. Antibody neutralize the antigen. Then the vaccine also generate memory B and T cells. They recognize the polypathogenic quickly. Example, polio vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine and DPT vaccines, etc. So these vaccines are produced using a DNA recombinant technology, that is hepatitis B vaccine produced from yeast. Next, it is a direct injection of preformed antibodies or antitoxins, and it is required for the quick immune response. Example, immunization against tetanus, snake venom, etc. Okay, and next comes the allergy, another part. It is an aggregated response of immune system to some antigens seen in the environment. Okay, so again here, what are allergens? Allergens are nothing but they are the substance which is causing the allergy. Generally it causes the allergy. Okay, So how does this it may cause, either it may be caused due to the dust or smoke, you can say, or for etc. Either any of this may results to cause the allergy to the body. Then the antibodies which is produced against the allergy are IgE type. Then IgE, it binds to the mast cells and it releases the chemicals like histamine and serotonin from them, and it results in the allergic reaction. Okay. What are the symptoms? Symptoms, you can see sneezing, watery eyes, running nose, and difficulty in breathing, and wheezing, skin rashes. You can see if the person is suffering from the allergy. So determination of cause of allergy. The patient is exposed to or injected with very small doses of possible allergens, and the reactions studied. Then treatment, drugs like histamine, adrenaline, and steroids are quickly reduces the symptoms of allergy. Then asthma is a respiratory disease which is due to the allergy. So again here, modern day lifestyle results in the lowering of immunity and the more sensitive of allergens. Many children in metro cities are suffering from the allergies and asthmas due to the sensitivity to the environment. Okay, this at least people are know and you are aware of that. This is due to the protected environment which is provided early in life. Next, autoimmunity. So autoimmunity in higher vertebrates, the memory based acquired immunity is evolved, which is based on the availability of differentiate foreign organisms like self cells, sometimes due to the genetic and other unknown response. The body attacks self cells, resulting in the damage of the body. It's called as autoimmune diseases. Okay. Okay. So next we'll move on to the another part. So some diseases in this chapter. First one is AIDS, which is known as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, so AIDS, it is a deficiency of immune system. Syndrome means a group of symptoms. So generally it is caused by human immunodeficiency virus, that is the HIV virus. Then HIV, it is a retrovirus with RNA genome, and AIDS was reported in America in 1891. So in the last 25 years, it killed over 25 millions of persons. Okay, so you know that AIDS, what are the means how it is caused, and symptoms and all we'll see now. Transmission. So how this AIDS it is transmitted. Firstly, it is transmitted by sexual contact with infected person, and second one by the transmission of contaminated blood and blood products. The third one is by sharing of infected needles, and the fourth is from infected mother to her child through the placenta. Okay, so these are the four different ways where the AIDS can be transmitted. Then how risk the people are getting from the HIV. First one, the individuals with multiple sexual partners. Then individuals who require a repeated blood transfusion, and the drug addicts who takes drugs through intravenously, and the children born to the HIV infected mothers. Okay, they are the more risk, you can say. Then another one, HIV does not spread by mere touching or by physical contact. It spreads only through the body fluids. Okay, so you can see it is not spread by kissing, hugging, or sharing of food. Nothing. Just it is only caused by touching or physical contact. Okay. Next, there is a time lag for few months of 5 to 10 years between the infection and the appearance of symptoms. So it takes time for the appearance. So it's a replication of retrovirus. when the viral RNA it enters the cell, this the viral DNA it is produced in the reverse transcriptase and the viral DNA into the host genome. Then new viral RNA is formed. Then the virus are produced. Okay. So the new virus can infect to the another cell. This is retrovirus. Commonly we call it as replication of retrovirus. It's a complete life cycle of HIV. So first what happens here? The HIV enters the body. Then two macrophages act as a HIV factory. Then RNA replicates in the presence of reverse transcriptase enzymes to form the viral DNA. Then the viral DNA incorporates into the host DNA. Then the infected cells produce viral particles. Then the HIV enters into the helper T cells. Then it replicates and produces progeny viruses, and it attacks other T4 cells. Then T cells decreases and generally it becomes the immune system. Okay, it's a complete life cycle. Next, effects, diagnosis and the treatment for HIV. So what are the effects? So during this period, the person suffers from fever, diarrhea and weight loss due to the deficiency of T4 cells, TH cells. He may be infected with different infections like mycobacterium, virus, fungi, parasites, etc. Next comes the ELISA test. ELISA is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It's a test which is used to diagnose this AIDS. Then treatment, antiviral drugs. They are the partially effective and they can only prolong the life of the patient. It's not complete curable, but at least they can extend the duration of the life. Next comes the prevention of AIDS. Prevention of AIDS. These are the prevention of AIDS. So we'll start from here. Okay, we'll start. Educate the people to avoid the AIDS and the use of disposable needles and syringes. Then the free distributions of condoms and making blood banks. Making blood banks for safe from HIV. Then the regular checkups for HIV and advocating safe sex and the controlling the drug abuse. Okay, so these are the some of the preventive measures for AIDS. Then next comes second one. It is a cancer. So again here this cancer is an abnormal and uncontrolled multiplication of cells. Abnormal and uncontrolled multiplication of cells, which is resulting in the formation of the tumor. What is tumor? Tumor is nothing but it's a mass of cells. So the normal cells show the contact inhibition. It is a contact with other cells, inhibits their uncontrolled growth, and the cancer cells, they do not have this property. So again here we have got two types of tumor. One is benign tumor and the one is the malignant tumor. Benign and malignant types of tumors. So first one is a benign tumor. So again here this benign tumor, it is confined to the place of its origin. It's confined to the place of origin and they do not spread to the any other parts. It causes little damage. Okay, it will not spread any other parts and it will cause only less damage. That is the benign tumor. A malignant tumor, it is a mass of proliferating cells. They grow rapidly, invade and damage the surrounding normal tissues also. Due to the inactive division and the growth, they starve normal cells by the competing for nutrients. Then the cells slot from the tumor, they reach other sites via blood where they form the new tumor. So this is commonly known as metastasis. Metastasis. Okay. Next comes the causes of cancer or carcinogens. Carcinogens are nothing but they are the cancer causing agents. First one is the physical agent. Physical agent, it may be caused due to the ionizing radiation like X-ray and the gamma rays and non ionizing radiations like ultraviolet rays. Then chemical agents, it may be like tobacco smoke, then vinyl chloride, caffeine, nicotine, and mustard gas, etc. Biological agents like oncogenic viruses, cellular oncogenic viruses, or proto-oncogenic viruses. So generally normal cells is activated these cells and becomes the oncogens. Fine. So these are the causes for the cancers or the carcinogens. Carcinogens means they are the cancer causing agents. So there are three types of causes for the cancer. One is the physical agent, chemical agent, and third one is the biological agents. Okay. Next, cancer detection and diagnosis. So cancer detection and diagnosis, again they are done by biopsy, imaging techniques, use of antibodies, and the molecular biological technology. First one is biopsy. So biopsy, here you can see that a thin piece of suscepted tissue is stained and examined under the microscope. Okay. In case of leukemia, biopsy and histopathological studies, the blood and bone marrow tests are increase the cell counts. Generally increases cell counts. Okay, then imaging techniques. So here that is a radiography. This uses of X-ray. Then CT scan, that is computerized tomograph, uses the X-rays to generate a 3D image of internal of an objects. Then MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. So uses of magnetic field and non-ionizing radiates to the detect the pathological and physiological change in the living tissues. Okay, so these are the three methods which are used in the imaging techniques. One is radiography, CT scan, that is computerized tomograph, and third one is MRI, that is a magnetic resonance imaging. Next comes the fourth one, it is the use of antibodies against the cancer specific antigens, and the fourth one is the molecular biological technique to detect the cancer related genes. Such individuals should avoid the carcinogens, that is the tobacco smoke. Okay. Next comes the treatment for cancer. First one is the radiotherapy. The tumor cells are eradicated lethally without damaging the surrounding normal tissues. Okay. They can be removed without damaging to the surrounding normal tissues. Then chemotherapy, use of chemotherapeutic drugs. Many drugs have the side effects like hair loss, anemia, etc. Then immunotherapy, the patients are given and biological response modifiers which activates their immune system and help to destroying the tumors. And last one is the surgery. Fine. So these are the different types of treatments. Okay, you can see the radiography, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, and surgery. Next comes the drugs, smokes, and alcohol abuse. So commonly used drugs are opiates, cannabinoids, and cocoa alkaloids. So first one is opioids. They bind to a specific opioid receptors in the central nervous system and the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, some of the examples you can see the morphine, heroin, brown sugar. Next, opioids. Morphine is extracted from the latex of papayi plants or Papaver somniferum. It is sedative and painkiller and useful for surgery. And heroin, it is a white odorless bitter crystalline compound. It is obtained by acetylization of morphine and it is taken by snorting and by injection. It is a dispensed and it slow down the body functions. Next comes the cannabinoids. They interact with cannabinoid receptors in the brain. Generally they are taken by inhalation and oral injection. Next, natural cannabinoids, they are obtained from the inflorescence of plants, that is Cannabis sativa. Its flower tops, leaves, and resins, they are used to produce these drugs. You can see the different, that is ganja, marjon, ganja, charas, etc. You can see the plants where these cannabinoids are extracted, hashish, chars, etc. All these different types of cannabinoids. Next, natural cannabinoids, they are obtained from the same thing, again it is repeated. So again here generally you can see that their effects, so generally it affects the cardiovascular system, and also it is abused by some of the sports person also. Extra, it helps in increasing their response, immune system of the body. Then it is obtained from cocoa plants, Erythroxylum coco. Then it interferes with the transport of neurotransmitters, that is dopamine. Third one, cocoa alkaloids or cocaine or coca. So again here cocaine, it is usually is noted. It stimulates the central nervous system, producing euphoria and increased energy. Excessive dosage of cocaine, it causes hallucination. So you know that hallucination, what do you mean by that? Then atropia, Ballodinia, and datura, they are also hallucinogenic plants. Okay, so these are some of the drugs you can see, which are general. Some drugs, they are useful, which are used for the medicines for the treatment of mental illness and depressions and insomnia, but some are abused, resulting in impairment of physical, physiological, and psychological functions. Both harmful as well as useful effects are there. Okay. Next comes the most common, that is the smoking. Okay, the tobacco has used by human beings over 400 years. It is smoked, chewed, and used as a snuff. It contains many chemical substances like nicotine, which stimulates an adrenal gland and releases an adrenaline and noradrenaline, and causing the high BP and heart rates. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, next, smoking. What are the causes? Smoking causes cancers of lungs, urinary bladder, throat, emphysema, and bronchitis, coronary heart diseases, and the gastric ulcers, etc. Tobacco chewing, it also causes oral cancer. So you can see here, oral cancer, lungs. Okay, alveoli will get damaged. Smoking increases carbon content in the blood, carbon dioxide content in the blood, and reduces the oxyhemoglobin. This causes the oxygen deficiency in the body. So generally there will be oxygen deficiency. Next comes the adolescence and the drug alcohol abuse. So adolescence is nothing but is a period and a process during which a child become mature in terms of his or her attitudes and the beliefs to be affect participation in the society. Okay, so it is a bridge link between the childhood and the adulthood, we can say. It's a period of approximate 12 to 18 years of age, and it is a very vulnerable phase of mental and physiological development. Okay. So what are the causes for drugs, alcohol use in adolescence? So first one is the curiosity and the experimentation. So usually the age period or the duration of that age will be like that, where the curiosity will be more, and usually they start doing the experimentation. And second one, it is a need for adventure and excitement. Third one, to escape facing problems. Then stress from pressure to excel in academics or examination. Then televisions, movie, newspapers, internet, so all the social medias are also responsible for the people to get attract to all these drugs and alcohol abuse. Then unstable and unsupportive family structures and also the peer pressures. So these are the major cause where the people will usually get attract to this drug and the alcohol abuse. Next comes the addiction and dependence. Addiction, it is a physiological attachment to the drugs and alcohol. With repeated use of drugs, the tolerance level of the receptors increases. Thus, the receptor responds only to the high dose, leading to the greater intake and the addiction. Next, dependence, the tendency of body to manifest characteristics and the unpleasant withdrawal syndrome. It is a regular dose of drugs and the alcohol is abruptly discontinued. It also results in anxiety, shakiness, nausea, and the sweatism. If the people who get addicted to all this, if there is scarcity of the available of these drugs and smokes, then the person may get suffer from this nausea, sweating, or shakiness, etc. Dependence leads to the social adjustment problem. Fine. Next comes the effects of drugs and alcohol abuse. Riskless behavior, vandalism and violence, coma and death due to the respiratory failure, then heart failure and cerebral hemorrhage. Then drugs moved with alcohol may causes the death. Then damage of nervous system and liver crisis, mental and social distress to the family and friends. Then social problems like stealing and spread of infectious disease like AIDS and hepatitis B. So these are the major effects of drugs and alcohol abuse. Then next comes the use of drugs and alcohol by the pregnant women also affects the fetus. Then the loss of sexual drive and necrospermia. Then the misuse of drugs by athletics. Okay, even they also do this. It's also big crime. Next, the warning signs of drug and alcohol abuse in adolescence period. Drop in academic performance and the absence from school, lack of interest in personal hygiene and the withdrawal and isolation, then dispersion, fatigue and aggressive and rebellious behavior. Okay, so all these are the major warning signs, you can say. Then change in sleeping and eating habits, then fluctuation in weights, appetites, etc. Then loss of interest in hobbies, distorting the relationship between the family and friends. Okay, so these are the major warning signs for the drug abuse in adolescence period. Next, we'll move on to the side effects of anabolic steroid abuse. One is acne, which increase aggressiveness. Then we can see the mood swings and the depressions. In case of males, we can see all this. Then reduced testicles, decreases in the sperm production. Then you can see the kidney and liver disinfection. Then you can see the breast enlargement. Then premature baldness you can see. Then the enlargement of prostate gland. So these are the side effects of anabolic steroid abuse in males. So in males, what happens? You can see acne, that is skin related problems you can see. Then you can see the increase in aggressiveness. Then you can see the person will suffer from mood swing and depression. Then reduced testicles. Then a decrease in the sperm production and the liver and kidney disinfection. Then enlargement of breast you can see, and the premature baldness and the enlargement of prostate gland. So all these are the side effects which is seen in the males. Then what are the side effects seen in case of the females? So again, in case of females, you can see that masculinization, that is muscular power with resembles to the male. Then increase aggressiveness, then mood swing and depression, excessive hair loss, excessive hair on face and body, abnormal menstrual cycle you can see, then deepening of voice, then enlargement of clitoris. Fine. So these are the side effects you can see in the females. Next, side effects of anabolic steroid abuse in adolescents, male and the female. So severe facial and body acne or the premature closure of growth centers of the long bones, resulting in stunted growth. So you can see that the more muscular power, you can say complete severe facial and the body acne and the premature closure of the growth centers of the long bones, resulting in the stunted growth. What are the preventions and control? Avoiding undue peer pressure, then education and the counseling is a must, then help from the parents and peers, looking for danger signs, seeking professional and medical help such as psychologist and physiotherapist, and the addiction and rehabilitation programs should be done so that we can control the drug addict for certain extent. Okay, so that's about the synopsis of human health and disease. Okay, thank you.